Thank you. It's a
I didn't say so. Is it a talk show or is it a formidable, serious talk that we're having?
Here's the quote. Thank you. It's a formidable, serious talk.
It's a serious talk, okay. You are trained in history, as far as I know.
Yes.
So I'll allow myself, like, to spend a minute to give you a reference note, a debriefing, if you don't mind that.
Please.
Well, look, our relationship with Ukraine, what was the starting point of the relationship? Where does Ukraine come from? The Russian state became centralized, which was the year of establishment of the Russian state in 862, when, well, there is a city of Novgorod in the northwest of Russia, when they invited Prince Rurik from Scandinavia, from the Vikings, in 862. In 1862, 1,000 years since the establishment of the statehood was marked, and there is a memorial dedicated to that in Novgorod. In 882, the successor of Rurik, Prince Oleg, who actually was a regent to Rurik's young son, came to Kiev. He ousted two brothers that used to be in the past, had been in the past members of the crew of Rurik. And so there were two centers of the statehood, in Kiev and in Novgorod, back then. The next red letter date was 888. The conversion into Christianity, when Prince Vladimir accepted Eastern Christianity, the Orthodox faith, in Kiev. Since then, the centralized power in Russia got entrenched with a single territory, a single economy, one and the same language. And after the baptism of Rus, they had the same faith and the rule of Grand Prince, and the centralized Russian state was fledgling. Thanks to different reasons, after the succession to throne practices were introduced by Yaroslav the Wise, after he'd passed away, there was not direct order of succession from father to the eldest son, but it was the horizontal from the demised prince to his brother, and all that led to the partitioning, feudal partitioning of ancient Rus. Same happened in Europe. It was a natural process, but that partitioned state, Russian state, became and fell prey to the empire established by Genghis Khan, and Khan party came to Rus, pillaged all the cities, and different cities like Kiev and others lost their independence, while northern cities of Russia preserved part of their sovereignty. They paid tribute to the yoke. And later, the centralized Russian state became fledgling in northwestern part of Russia, and the southern lands of Russia were gravitating towards another center, the one of Europe, the Grand Lithuanian Dukedom, Duchy, the Lithuanian-Russian Duchy, as the ethnic Russians constituted a big part, and they were Orthodox in faith, and they spoke the ancient Russian language then there, but later Poland, the Kingdom of Poland, and the Grand Duchy of Lithuania were unified, and another unification in spiritual sphere was signed, and part of the Orthodox priests were now subordinate to Pope. So those lands were transferred to the Polish and Lithuanian state, but for decades the Poles tried to convert those people, those Russians, trying to entrench an idea that those were not specifically and fully Russian, trying to assimilate them. Ukraine means the trim of the nation, the trim of the land, the border area. So some of them were border guards or something, but there was not about a specific ethnic group. So the Poles tried to assimilate the Russian population there and treated those lands in a tough or cruel even way. All that led to that part of the Russian lands struggle for their rights. They wrote letters to Warsaw claiming that their rights were to be upheld.
I beg your pardon, can you tell us what period? I'm losing track of where in history we are. The Polish oppression of Ukraine.
It was in the 13th century, 13th century, 14th century. 13th century. And I'll tell you what happened later, and I'll keep track of the dates. In 1654, or a bit earlier, the people who controlled power in that part of the Russian lands addressed Warsaw, claiming that some Russian ethnicity and Orthodox rulers would be sent to govern them, and Warsaw declined and rejected that, and then they turned to Moscow, so that Moscow would establish its power over them. Just, I'm not inventing things, don't you think? Just. I'll give you these documents.
It doesn't sound like you're inventing it. I'm not sure why it's relevant to what happened 2 years ago.
Well, still, these are copies from the archive with letters from Bogdan Khmelnytsky, the one who controlled that part of the Russian lands that is now called Ukraine, and he wrote to Warsaw claiming that the rights be upheld, and when he was rejected, he received a refusal, he started writing to the Tsar of Moscow, wishing to be part of the Russian lands. And there is a translation in Russian and in English, probably. Russia would not accept them straight away, because they feared that a war with Poland would be unleashed. In 1654, the Zemsky Council decided that this part of the ancient Russian lands be accepted as part of the new Russian land. And the war with Poland began, and it lasted for 13 years, and afterwards a truce was enacted after the 1654 Act. 32 years afterwards, the eternal peace with Poland was established and proclaimed. And all the left bank of the Dniester River, including Kiev, Dnieper River, was part of Russia, became part of Russia, and the right bank of Dnieper became part of Poland. And under the rule of Catherine the Great, Russia returned all those historical lands of its. And that all happened and lasted till the revolution. But before World War I, using the ideas of Ukraine ethnicity and origin, the Austrian General Staff started promoting the Ukrainian origin and Ukrainian identity, because they, in the view of the First World War, they wanted to weaken the prospective enemy And the idea that had been born in Poland, that those people residing in that territory were not specifically and wholly Russian, was later promoted by the Austrian General Staff, and theorists appeared in the 19th century upholding the independence of Ukraine. They spoke of its need to obtain independence, but all the pillars of the Ukrainian sovereignty, all the proponents, said that Ukraine was to have a very good relationship with Russia. They insisted on that. Well, after the revolution of the 1917 happened, Bolsheviks tried to restore the statehood, and the civil war began, including a standoff with Poland. In 1921, the peace treaty with Poland was proclaimed, and under this treaty, the right bank of Dnieper River once again belonged to Poland. In 1939, after Poland cooperated with Hitler, and they collaborated with Hitler actually. We have all the documents in the archive, and Hitler proposed Poland a peace treaty and a friendship treaty, but he claimed that Poland should give the dancing corridor back to Germany, and that connected the main part of Germany with East Prussia and Königsberg. And after the First World War, that part of territory was transferred to Poland, and instead of Danzig, the city of Gdansk appeared. It was renamed. So Hitler asked them to give it amicably. They refused, but still they collaborated with Hitler, and they together partitioned Czechoslovakia.
You're making a case that Ukraine, certainly parts of Ukraine, eastern Ukraine, is in effect Russia has been for hundreds of years. Why wouldn't you just take it when you became president 24 years ago? You have nuclear weapons, they don't. If it's actually your land, why did you wait so long?
I'll tell you. I'm coming to that. This debriefing is coming to an end. It might be boring, but it explains many things.
How it's relevant.
Good. I'm so gratified that you appreciate that. So after, before World War II, Poland did not accept the claims of Hitler, the demands of Hitler, but participated in partitioning of Czechoslovakia.